Like that weird, it's like your world just drops out.
Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. Please like, share and subscribe. This is for entertainment purpose only. This is the case of Nicola Bulley, may she rest in peace, who went missing on the 27th of January. She was last seen near the river Torpart at 9:15. I just wanted to show y'all something that Paul said here that reminded me so much of two people who've actually been arrested a year ago and have been finally charged. The couple West, Trezell and Jacqueline West, and the California City Boys. Just pay attention to this part, please.
Police rang me then while I was at the bench and said, look, you've got to get home because the police are going to be coming to your house. We need somebody at your house. You get home, the police are on the way there.
Dark and I need help, and we gotta get going. So I called the cops. Cops came. First thing they did was tell us to stay in the house so they can get a hold of us. And they had us just sitting there, and we wanted to keep searching. But everybody came out in droves, and I wanted to thank you guys that night, but we couldn't go outside.
The cops told us the best are out here.
The best are out here searching, and we appreciate it, and nobody ever could tell, we could never talk to anybody, and that was the issue.
Police rang me then while I was at the bench and said, look, you've got to get home because the police are going to be coming to your house. We need somebody at your house. You get home, the police are on the way there.
Trezell and Jacqueline West said the same thing exactly, if you'll remember. They said that the police told them to stay at home and not to participate in the search. And later on we found out they were lying. So was Paul told to stay at home because the police did not trust him in the search? Who's the person on the left? Because I don't personally believe that is Nicola. I believe the person with the blonde hair could be Nicola. But the more I look at that picture to the one on the right hand, it looks like somebody's wearing a blonde wig on top of black hair. Because if you look behind, you see the roots. It's not only the roots, the hair is black, pitch black. Somebody with dark hair who just wore a wig on top. And this picture with the white gloves on doesn't look like Nicola at all. This is for entertainment purpose only.
And Willow and Nicky's phone on the bench and the harness halfway down the embankment. Willow and Nicky's phone on the bench and the harness halfway down the embankment on the floor.
Isn't it strange that Paul did not mention the phone at all? Not even once. He spoke about he found the harness halfway from the river to the embankment. It sounded like an alibi he was trying to get right across at the beginning so that people do not ask him further questions. There's something not right about those answers. And why did the police ask him to go directly at home? Wouldn't the police prefer someone who knows their partner best, knows the places that they walk with their dog? Why was the police trying to take him out of the crime scene, alleged crime scene, if there was any? My question is, even if the police tell you to go home and wait for them at home, obviously you're going to obey the law, but wouldn't you, at that minute, with all the emotions going around and with all the worries and concerns, wouldn't you tell the police I ain't leaving anywhere? If you all want to do an interview with me, do it right here near the bench because I need to find the mother of my children, the partner, the love of my life. When the police came, I'm sure they asked him his timeline, and he had his timeline right, allegedly, because he doesn't have to go and get his hands dirty. He can get someone to do that for him. You don't see, his emotions are so flat. You don't see any empathy. You don't see any concern. You don't see him pleading for Nicola. It's really concerning, this whole interview. Maybe the police know more than we know. That's why they told him to stay out of the search and come home as soon as possible. Oh my God, just look at his face here. He has these expressions that is so baffling. And he's dead serious. What are all these marks on Paula's face? Was there allegedly a fight or something? Look at his eyes. In between his eyebrows, those are all marks. And this interview was done 2 weeks later. Later on, after the missing report was Nicola was missing, and the searches was going for Nicola, to find Nicola. This is for entertainment purpose only.
It wasn't like particularly because she has come back at 10:15 sometimes. Like you might just get talking to Emma or
find a
another
friend
mom.
on a dog walk. Yeah.
Yeah, or anybody. So
He says clearly that Nicola, they come home late sometimes, it's not often, but she could be talking to someone like Emma or a friend or another dog walker, and he points to the direction of whoever's sitting on that side, and that is Emma. A person might comment, "Thank you, brought that to my attention," and it is true, because he points out directly to the other side. So Emma White was sitting the whole interview giving him emotional support, I guess. This is Paul, is maybe everyday face, or is he really let me choose my words carefully. Is he on a self-defense mode? Is he getting anxious about the whole thing? The questions seem to be upsetting him. Because just look at his face. And this is someone whose loved one has been missing only for 2 weeks. He doesn't plead for, he doesn't ask people for help. He just thanks the public, like Trezell and Jacqueline and Donald and Candace Wells. What are you thanking the public for? Nothing. Because Nicola isn't found, allegedly. And he knew she wouldn't be found. He knew that Nicola wasn't going to be found anytime soon. I believe Paul kept on saying that she's not in the river because he knew, allegedly, that Nicola needed to be back in the river. She wasn't in the river. That's why he was sending the police and everyone to scrutinize the outdoors, the buildings, the garage, etc., car parks and all, so that people could leave the river site and the riverbank. And when the searches stopped for a couple of days, Nicola was found near Rockcliffe Road, and she was found in the river. I've always said that's what the psychic said from day one. And then he retracted his words. He backed up on himself because they told him, definitely, allegedly. We remember the two press conferences with Superintendent Sally Riley when she said that Nicola went missing at 9:15 near the river top out in Galston Road. Now listen to the 9:10 one. I think this was the first interview.
Missing on Friday the 27th of January. She was last seen at 9:10 in the upper fields of the Riverside area, and she was with her dog. Her phone and her dog were found at around 9:33 that morning, and Nicola has not been seen since. Now, I can understand that for local people this is extremely distressing and worrying for them, that it may cause anxiety. However, what I would say is that there is an enormous police investigation into this missing person inquiry. Around 40 detectives are working under a senior investigating officer, looking at every possible line of inquiry, including CCTV, house to house, tracing witnesses, looking at around 700 vehicles that have passed through the village that day, tracing all of those witnesses and trying to get dashcam footage. In addition to that, around half a dozen police divers continue to search the river, but we're also aided in that search by a number of partners like Fire and Rescue and the Lancaster Area Search and Rescue team, to whom I'm very grateful. So, to the local community, I would say, please, if you have dashcam footage relating to that journey on Friday the 27th, get in touch. We have a new email inbox, Nicola Bulley investigation at lancashire.police.uk, and all information will be taken seriously and looked into.
I was just going to ask you, when you remain as confident as ever that there is no third-party involvement in this case at all?
I do, Tony, because our investigation has looked at so many potential lines of inquiry, particularly the CCTV bordering that stretch of river. Now, Allotment Lane and Roan Water Caravan Park have been discounted as areas that Nicola could have used to leave her path. That only leaves us Garstang Lane. Now, of course, we remain fully open to anything that may have happened to her, and any information is being checked out, but at this time our belief is that this is a missing person inquiry.
So the third party involvement that's suggested by the boss of SGI mentioned about the phone possibly being left on the bench as a decoy, that's something that isn't really relevant to the inquiry, or is that a factor?
Well, Nicola's phone was found on the bench, but there could be so many explanations for that. Nicola may have left it momentarily, particularly as she was on a Teams call from 9:01 that morning, until the Teams call ended, albeit she remained dialed in at 9:30. She could have left the phone on the bench to go and deal with something involving the dog. It does not mean anything suspicious in itself. And the fact that other witnesses have not seen anyone suspicious in the area, and that we haven't picked up anyone suspicious either on our systems or on CCTV, does lead us to believe it remains a missing person inquiry.
You mentioned there are 40 detectives working on the case specifically. What about the number in general with uniformed officers and experts, searchers and everything like that? Is there a number on total?
It's around 60. It's around 60 because there are many neighbourhood policing officers, including the police officers themselves and the PCSOs who remain in the area. There are a number of supervisors who come down to the scene. There are obviously the police divers and the searchers of the physical search area of the riverbank. So about 60 in total. But if we need more, we will call upon them. At the moment, the senior investigation officer is happy with those number of inquiries, but we'll keep it under constant review.
Do you mind me just asking two more questions? The area around the bench wasn't kind of isolated and protected at first. I mean, is that something that is regretted at all, or was that the right thing to do at the time?
Well, this is a beautiful rural area, isn't it? And to be able to fence off every hazard would be practically impossible for an area that people come to on their holidays. They walk their dogs, they enjoy leisure time, local people. So I think that would be a very difficult task, not one for the police, certainly for the local authority, but I think one that would be difficult to do and may detract from the beauty of the area.
So no evidence would have been lost by it not being isolated or sealed off?
Oh, you're talking the police court?
Yeah,
sorry, I thought you meant the physical court.
Yeah.
Right, sorry. Well, the police police officers were alerted after that first call about 10:50 when the school and her family were told that her phone and her dog had been found. Police officers were very quickly on the scene afterwards. In that short window, I'm not concerned, having been led by the inquiry. Missing on Friday the 27th of January. She was last seen at 9:10 in the upper field of the Riverside area. Friday the 27th of January. She was last seen at 9:10 in the upper field of the Riverside area.
So now we heard clearly Nicola went missing at 9:10 near the river towpath. Then we heard the conference 9:15. There was the second conference by Sally Riley, the superintendent, and it was a missing inquiry. Later on they changed the whole thing to Nicola fell in the river. Unless Nicola had on some electronic tag that the police would know of, that the person is out of trace, somebody that they was tracing, it wouldn't make sense. Because there was a blind spot. The CCTV blind spot was in front of the river towpath in Galston Road. So what happened? Because we did not see Nicola driving from her home. We saw her getting into the car. We don't know if the CCTV footages are edited and fake, which they do look like, from Gisela K. And the first one that was given to the news, I wouldn't even trust that because that's from Emma White. I'm being honest, Emma. This plan that was done, whether it was premeditated or if it wasn't, or if it was an accident and something happened that it became a decoy and a cover-up, all I know is something criminal happened. A third party was involved. Nicola did not harm herself or unalive herself. She would never do that to her children who just got a couple of minutes away. She would never destroy their future. Something isn't adding up here. Paul was telling us the river ain't what happened. Obviously it means please move away from the river, stop focusing so much on the river so that actually I can put Nicola back in the river. Allegedly. It's my opinion. And I've done too much research to understand that this is more than somebody falling in a river. The river was too shallow. Everybody has recorded that river. We've all got that point of how shallow it was. It's not the flood seasons when Nicola went missing. So what happened? Why did the police come on the 10th of January? Was there a domestic violence issue? Allegedly. These are questions that need to be answered. Because as long as there is a blind spot on near River towpath, and as long as there's no CCTV camera that is not working in certain areas, how can you be 100% certain that Nicola fell in the river? That's so unfair. Why did Paul Ansel, Nicola's partner, decide to share the so-called vulnerable issues and high-risk issues that Nicola had? I'm not saying that Nicola could have not suffered of issues or even mental health illness, which I don't believe, but okay, depression, anxiety, anything. She could have been suffering. But to come and put somebody's life there open up in public when the person is actually missing, the person hasn't been found, the person doesn't have a voice to speak for themselves, that is wrong. Any of us women, any of us men can disappear, vanish. They're busy giggling when they're saying things like that. You heard Emma White clearly saying in the interview, you go out for a walk with your dog and then all of a sudden you disappear. What is this, some kind of horror movie? People just don't vanish. People don't disappear in thin air. Somebody knows what happened. Definitely. It's because I personally believe the police put in enough resources, they're trying their best, but they got their timelines wrong from the very first second. Because the poster up on the tree says that Nicola went missing from her home in Inskip. Why are we ignoring the facts? Why are these posters not being taken down that are in 4 different places? Why is Rowan Water, the caravan park site, being ruled out for people to even check? This is really heartbreaking, especially for Nicola's family. Her daughters, so unfair. Please like, share and subscribe.